Sorry. Kimmy B here at Lititz Historical Foundation. We're here to learn about the Mueller House, about the church, the Square Town Church. We're also here to learn about the artifacts that have been in the old Wilbur Butts factory to the old post offices. It is now April 2021. It is raining. It is like 60 degrees out, low 70s. And guess what? The pandemic is starting to a little bit uplift. Everybody is now available for their COVID-19 vaccinations finally. So, like I said to everyone in our open introduction, this is Kristin Wagner. Kristen, would you like to tell us what you actually what you actually do here?
Sure.
As working here?
So I am one of the tour guides at the Lititz Historical Foundation. I also am the in-house genealogist, so if people have questions about relatives who may have come from Lititz or the history of a house in Lititz, I field those questions as well. But we actually have 8 tour guides here, as well as some volunteers who man the desk at the museum. So it's a team effort. And across the street, if I can show you that, or do you want to? Sure.
Yeah, we would like to know all of it, actually.
Sure. So Lititz was founded by the Moravians, and so the history of the Moravian church is kind of one and the same as the town of Lititz back in the beginnings. So across the street in Church Square, you'll see the 1787 church sanctuary. And there was a building there earlier in the 1750s, but the one you see now is 1787. And on either side of that, there is the brother's house and the sister's house. So Moravians divided their community into what they called choirs, but it was really just groups of people in the same stage of life. So any of the single men lived together in that building and the single women in that building. And one of the interesting things about the brother's house is it was used as a military hospital during the Revolutionary War. So December 1777 through August 1778, that building was used as a military hospital. And the sister's house is now part of Linden Hall, which is the oldest girls' school in the country. Oh, wow. And way back in 1746, they were educating girls right alongside the boys. So I think that was pretty progressive and pretty cool that they did that.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know you just taught me something new, because I worked here at one point, not going to say exactly where, because
okay.
I don't know if they want to be advertised or not, but it is a nursing home around here. Mm-hmm. And, they talk, their, name is Moravian, and it's crazy because they always talked about Linden Hall, but we never knew there was a building for boys yet. So that's interesting. So was there so what you're saying, there was an actual school for the boys then?
The students were actually started out in that time period. They were all educated together. It was a very small community, so there weren't that many kids, back in the 1750s, 1760s.
Right.
And eventually they divided. They had a separate academy for boys, which was run by John Beck. You might know that name. For many years in the 1800s, and then this became part of Linden Hall. So the girls stayed here, and the boys went a little bit down the road. So would you like to go in the museum?
Yeah,
okay.
We would.
Yeah, we have 2 houses that are part of the property. So the house we're going to go in first is the museum. That is a self-guided tour. It's free. We don't charge. It's just by donation if people are able to contribute. Mm-hmm. And then the house next door that I'll take you to is the Johannes Mueller House. That was built in 1792, and that is the guided tour for the costume guides.
Now, just a question. We're not allowed to go in these churches, are we?
No, so you would need to coordinate that with the church.
Very nice. A lot of information.
Yeah.
I love it. We love it.
All right, well, let's head inside.
Yep. I'm just going to grab our bags so that way they're inside safely.
And I can lock this then when we go over to the other house.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for
You're welcome. So I know one of the things you had asked me was about how COVID affected our season last year.
Yes.
And I actually went back and I checked our numbers. So in 2019, which was, a regular year for us, we had over 7,600 visitors. And we're only open, April or May through October. So it's not the whole year. And we had visitors from 49 states and 37 different countries that year. Lititz draws a lot of guests from all over the world, so it's exciting to get to meet them. And the only state we were missing that year was North Dakota. So if you're from North Dakota, come see us. We want to get all of the states.
Yes.
But then last year, we ended up, we were closed because, Pennsylvania had the color codes with the red and yellow and green.
Oh, yeah.
And so we weren't open until the green phase. We opened July 1st. So we were open July through October, and in that time we had 2,002 guests. But I was surprised we actually still had 29 states and 12 countries. But for the most part, like the great majority of people were day trips, from an hour or two, just somewhere in the tri-state area that wanted to get out of their house and do something a little bit different. And we were one of the few historic sites that was open at all. I know the ones that were run by the state were all closed last summer. So we're hoping, that this season will be better. We're open April 30th, and for that first month, it'll just be Fridays and Saturdays because that is, tends to be the busiest days. And then once we hit Memorial Day, then we will be open Monday through Saturday, 11 to 5. And that is for the museum and tours of the Mueller House.
Oh. So yeah, North Dakota, please come out here and see us. Like, this is what we want, okay? We want all 50 states to come to PA, for real. We're trying to get everybody to come out and be interested in this. May I ask, maybe you don't know the answer to this, but I do remember, God, I forgot what year that was, where it was all over newspapers locally, everywhere, about how you guys were the coolest town. Mm-hmm. What makes Lititz the coolest town, and what drives people from 49 states to this town? Because I had no idea that. I was expecting like people from like New York, big cities, just to come see the Amish because they don't understand the Amish,
Right.
And they look at us like we're Amish, where it's like, no.
Right.
So yeah, do you know what would drive like these 49 states out here to come see us?
So, we do have some visitors who are coming to Lancaster County in general, and this is part of what they do, but Lititz also has a lot of events in a normal year, not last year.
That's true.
But we have just a really special community spirit, and so many people that volunteer and work together to put together these events. So, we'll have craft shows, we'll have concerts, we'll have the chocolate walk is usually in October. Our 4th of July celebration is one of the oldest in the U.S. and one of the biggest. So we have like fabulous fireworks with that. And just the Main Street, the historic district itself, I know all of the downtown shop owners have really worked together to create a great environment for people who are out. There's places to grab a bite to eat. There's a lot of history. I think that the Main Street of Lititz actually has more original colonial structures than Williamsburg. So I think we have something pretty special here.
Yeah, you just actually taught me something new. You mentioned colonial Williamsburg. I've been there, so to know that you guys are older than them, that's just amazes me. Like, it really does, because I would think it'd be the other way around. So that's actually cool that you that you guys are actually older than Williamsburg. That's very interesting to me.
We have more original surviving structures.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, do you know why that would be, or no?
I think partially because the Moravians created the town. And so they were, up until 1855, you had to be Moravian to live here. And so it was this very close, tight-knit community who really valued their history and their town. And so I think they did a good job of taking care of things and preserving them. And then ever since 1855, it has been open to, anybody can live here now. But just that, sense of community that we have.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Seriously. I'm learning. I'm learning as I go here. And I'm like, seriously, I even told your friend Kurt that, we are like, I always lived like 5 to 10 miles away to the next town. And yet I was never really into history until this whole pandemic. And then, like I said, it just started affecting me where now it's just like, wow, I am into it now.
Good.
I can't get away from it. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you what we're standing by here. This is kind of the start of our museum. You'll see, just because of COVID, we did put a path on the floor that guests can follow. So we start with the Native Americans here because obviously they were the first people to live in this area. And if you walk, just 2 blocks up Main Street, you'll get to Lititz Springs Park. And so a lot of these arrowheads and artifacts were found in that area. Of course, you want to settle, close to a source of water. So the springs is where it started. I'll also point out on the wall here, we have pictures of a number of those houses and buildings that I was talking about. And it tells you, what year they were built and what their use was. And we have a walking map that guests can take along with them as well when they walk up and down the street so they know, which buildings they're passing by.
Cool. Now, I was actually thinking about something that triggered. So we all know that the fireworks on 4th of July in Lititz Springs all started here for years and years and years. However, unfortunately, due to Wilbur Budd's factory, for some reason, they said, we're going to close, we're going to move across the street, which they did. They said because they were going to put apartments into the old Wilbur Budd factory. Where do they hold the fireworks now if they're not in the Spring Park because of that?
Well, last year would have been, I think, the first year that they did that. And so they had to cancel the big regular fireworks, but there was a smaller display that they set off down by the airport just so that, we could still have some type of 4th of July. And I know that the Borough Council just approved what they're going to be doing for the 4th of July this year. I don't have the exact details on what the staging area is for the fireworks, but they're still going to have the all-day celebration in the park, and I think it's going to be more of, you have to have a ticket and a more limited capacity than what they usually have in there, but there's a lot of special events in the park, like the Queen of Candles, that are kind of the lead up to the fireworks at the end of the day. But they are still going to have a very large fireworks display.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, very good to know. Because I could actually, no lie, every 4th of July, like I said, even though I'm the next town over, we could actually see the fireworks from our house.
Yeah.
So it's like we didn't even have to drive far. And then if you're like near Johnson & Johnson Company, you could really see them. Yeah, I mean, really see. It was cool. It was like almost like 3D.
All right. So should we go into the next room?
Yep. I think that...